Police Department after a grand jury failed to indict him.
Plus, a stabbing at a local high school sends a 14-year-old to the hospital.
And the Senate passes a bill boosting Secret Service protection for presidential candidates.
We'll have the latest coordinates on the tropical storm. This is Aileen, and it is headed toward Florida. This is going to be a major story and a major storm, probably the strongest of the season. We'll have all that coming up in a moment.
And the Victoria East Titans battle the New Braunfels Unicorns this week in Week 5. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Shauna Curry. The Victoria Independent School District and local law enforcement held a joint press conference today to address the recent string of threats by students. Victoria County Sheriff Justin Marr and other local leaders were there. They say that these threats are taken seriously and it could result in a student facing a misdemeanor or even a felony charge. Sheriff Marr says his office has detained 12 students in the last 6 weeks. That's an average of 2 threat incidents per week that his deputies have worked.
And just as the Victoria ISD held that press conference, the sheriff's office had 2 more incidents in the district. One involved a stabbing at West High School, which sent a 14-year-old student to the hospital. Sheriff Marr says the student's injuries were not serious and the student is expected to make a full recovery. He also says his deputies detained a 15-year-old student in connection with what he described as an assault. Sheriff Marr did not reveal what was used as the weapon. The West High School campus was placed on a hold while law enforcement handled the incident. Now, hold means students and staff must remain in their classrooms and parents are not allowed to check students out, and parents should not go to the campus during that time. The sheriff's office also responded to an incident at Victoria East High School today. We've reached out for additional information on both incidents and are waiting to hear back.
3 people are displaced tonight after an early morning house fire. This happened just after 2 this morning in the 100 block of West Crestwood. The mobile home is a total loss. Victoria Fire Chief George Gomez says a window air conditioning unit overheating is believed to have caused the fire. And the Victoria Fire Department will be collecting smoke detectors to safeguard homes throughout Victoria. During the month of October, as part of Fire Prevention Month, collection boxes will be set up at both Victoria Walmart stores. Residents can donate new smoke detectors. Fire Chief George Gomez says the department's goal is to put smoke alarms in 90% of Victoria homes within the next 3 years. You can also request a smoke detector for your home by contacting the Fire Marshal's office at 361-485-3460.
A former El Campo police officer is suing the El Campo Police Department. Freddie Douglas was fired after he was arrested on a rape accusation last December. A Brazoria County grand jury declined to indict Douglas on the allegations last March. Douglas is suing for wrongful termination and discrimination. He is asking for back pay, interest on back pay, damages for emotional pain, suffering, and more. The suit claims the decision to fire Douglas was racially motivated. Victoria police arrested a 39-year-old man on 3 charges Monday. Christopher Smith of Bloomington is charged with unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. He's in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $60,500 bond. The DPS arrested a 37-year-old man on human smuggling charges in Wharton County Monday. Rogelio Ibarra is from Fremont. He is in the Wharton County Jail in lieu of $15,000 bond.
Lavaca County is now under a burn ban. Commissioners put the burn ban in place on Monday. This is the second burn ban in Lavaca County for this year. The first was lifted on August 30th. Any person caught burning in any unincorporated areas of Lavaca County may be fined up to $500. Well, temperatures are cooling off, but doesn't look like we'll be getting any relief in the way of rain. Let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez.
Oh, you're right. I mean, we could always use a little bit of rain. We may have a few little showers coming through tomorrow with the frontal system that I've been promising you. Where is the front? It's up there in the panhandle. It's going to be dropping through our area about middle of the day tomorrow. Tonight there are a few showers out in the Houston area, but that doesn't look like it's coming toward us. After the front comes through, it's going to be really nice, very, very, very nice, considering that we've got a major hurricane hitting Florida. We'll be talking more about that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality held a public meeting tonight on a proposed water use permit to divert water from the Lavaca River. The application was filed by the Lavaca-Navidad River Authority, or LNRA. If approved, the permit will allow LNRA to build and maintain a dam and reservoir that will supply water for municipal, industrial, and mining purposes in Calhoun, Jackson, Matagorda, Wharton, and Victoria counties. The meeting tonight was at the Edna High School auditorium. And now for today's viewer poll. Should LNRA build a dam to divert and store water for industrial use? At 6 o'clock, 67% were voting no. At 10 o'clock, same thing. They should not build a dam to divert and store water for industrial use, so says the vast majority of our voters in our viewer poll, and we thank you for voting.
Spring Creek Road will close tomorrow for brush and weed clearing along the right-of-way. The closure will be from Main Street to the bridge area from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Residents in the area will still have access to their home. To avoid delays, through traffic is encouraged to seek alternate routes.
An appeals court Tuesday said the State Fair of Texas can ban guns. The Texas Tribune reports Attorney General Ken Paxton asked for a Tuesday ruling to give the Texas Supreme Court time to weigh in if needed. Paxton asked to temporarily block the State Fair of Texas policy banning all firearms from its fairgrounds. Paxton says the fair's gun ban violates state law. Paxton said on social media Tuesday night that he will next ask the Texas Supreme Court to overturn the ban.
The U.S. Senate unanimously passed a legislation to boost Secret Service protection for presidential candidates. This comes on the same day federal prosecutors charged Ryan Ruth in the second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. It's a strong show of bipartisan support just days after the House passed the measure known as the Enhanced Presidential Security Act. Without any opposition, it was a 405-0 vote. The bill would give presidential candidates the same level of Secret Service protection as a sitting president. The bill now heads to President Joe Biden for his signature.
Republicans are suing over mail-in ballot policies in Mississippi. The outcome of the case could have a big impact on mail-in ballots cast everywhere in the country.
This as former President Donald Trump is giving his supporters a mixed message on early voting.
Mississippi allows officials to count ballots that arrive within 5 days after Election Day, as long as they're properly postmarked. The Republican National Committee and others are alleging this violates federal statute, and it resembles laws in roughly 20 other states and jurisdictions. So this case could have major implications on mail-in voting.
The other states that allow for late arriving ballots include Nevada, Ohio, and Virginia, as well as Maryland, the site of a competitive Senate race. California and New York also allow for post-election ballot receipt and could make a major difference in who controls the House. Former President Donald Trump has long railed against mail-in voting. In 2020, his attacks against the practice made it less popular among GOP voters. But at a recent rally, Trump gave a confusing message to his supporters.
We have to win Pennsylvania. Go out and make a plan to vote early, vote absentee. Now we have this stupid stuff where you can vote 45 days early.
Now, Mississippi is not the only state where this approach is being litigated, but by bringing a case against Mississippi, Republicans have navigated this to a friendly forum, more likely to give them a ruling that could help boost cases like this elsewhere. Now, the Department of Justice, Democrats, and others argue that this approach is not violating federal statute. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
A Texas man has been executed tonight. Travis James Mullis is a Brazoria County man who in 2008 sexually assaulted, strangled, and stomped on his infant son's head until he died. You can read the full Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. It's that simple. It really is. Amazing. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. The U.S. plans to announce billions in Ukraine aid amid a Republican divide.
Also ahead, a weight loss drug CEO defends the drug's price amid Senate scrutiny over costs. Welcome back. Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon taking on a new target today, zeroing in on Beirut for the first time. Israel says it took out a top Hezbollah commander.
Hundreds of people were killed in Lebanon, including women and children, as thousands more flee.
Today, smoke rises on the horizon in Lebanon as a dark cloud hangs over the region. Israel's new wave of airstrikes targeting Beirut killed a top Hezbollah commander, according to the Israeli Defense Force. Hezbollah has been firing back with at least 125 rockets into Israel overnight and this morning.
Those rockets and missiles are aimed directly at our cities, directly at our citizens. To defend our people against Hezbollah strikes, we must take out those weapons.
So far, more than 500 people in Lebanon have been killed, including women and children. More than 1,800 are injured. This man, working for a Lebanese television network, is on camera the moment a blast east of Beirut hits. Local media tells ABC News the man is fine. Today at the UN, President Biden stressed there's still time to de-escalate.
Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible.
But the IDF is signaling a new phase in its attacks against Hezbollah, urging Lebanese civilians evacuate. People in the south are now fleeing their homes and villages. U.S. officials urge Americans in Lebanon to get out while commercial travel is still available, as it sends what it describes as a small special operations team to help evacuate American citizens if necessary.
It remains the only path to lasting security to allow the residents from both countries to return to their homes and the border safely. And that's what we're working tirelessly to achieve.
Today, foreign ministers known as the G7 issued a joint statement on the rising tension in the Middle East, calling for a stop to the current destructive cycle. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
The U.S. plans to announce billions of dollars for Ukraine within the coming days. Congress failed to include an aid extension in its stopgap measure to keep the government open. The first $375 million military aid package for Ukraine could be delayed due to dwindling U.S. stockpiles. House Republicans remain divided on Ukraine funding. The Senate may take up the measure as early as Wednesday or Thursday, when President Zelensky is expected to visit the Capitol. The House is set to approve the spending measure Wednesday before leaving Washington until after the November election.
As the use of electronic vehicles has surged in the past 5 years, e-bike injuries have spiked nearly 100%.
With some advice on how to keep your e-bike ride safe, here's ABC News' Zareen Shaw.
The use of small vehicles like bicycles and scooters has increased in the past decade, and in more recent years, electric vehicles. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco found e-bike injuries increased by more than 99% per year between 2018 and 2022, up from 751 to over 20,000. And e-scooter injuries increased by more than 45% annually, from about 8,500 to over 56,000. EV users tend to have riskier riding habits, like forgoing a helmet or having a few drinks before going on a ride. Unsurprisingly, that means they were more likely to require a trip to the hospital. Researchers are calling for safer biking paths for those who do enjoy those electric bicycles or scooters. But no matter what, riding with caution is just common sense. Always wear a helmet and abstain from alcohol before you take your scoot or cycle. And if you do take a spill, seek medical attention as soon as possible. With this Medical Minute, I'm Zoreen Shah, ABC News.
Novo Nordisk, maker of Wegovy and Ozempic, is facing Senate scrutiny over high prices. CEO Lars Jorgensen testified before the Senate Health Committee today. Lawmakers say the company charges Americans more than patients abroad. Jorgensen argued the real issue is the complex U.S. health care system. He pledged to continue fighting chronic diseases like obesity. The hearing goes along with efforts to lower health care costs in the U.S.
Well, good evening, everybody. We're looking at 80 degrees out there right about now. In about a day and a half, it's going to be in the 60s at night. Yeah, we've got that cool front on its way. 97 was our high today. It was a little hot and humid. Of course, we're supposed to be around 89 as an average, but in a moment, we're going to be talking about where the frontal system is, where the rain is going to be, and what's going to happen with that storm in Florida. All that coming up in a moment. Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, we do have a frontal system headed in our way. It's up there in the Panhandle, and by tomorrow, by middle of the day tomorrow, it'll be blowing through the area. You'll know it when the winds start blowing from the north. That's going to bring us some very nice dry air into the region. As a matter of fact, tonight we do have a few showers out in the Houston area, right about there, but it doesn't look like that's really part of our future. When this frontal system does pass through, you can see how showers will be triggering along ahead of it, and that'll be tomorrow afternoon. So I do expect a few little garden variety showers to come through with the front, and then all of a sudden we pick up a north wind and the humidities will go away and it'll feel like fall finally. We'll actually drop the temperatures a little bit, maybe about 10 degrees. The eastern states, well, you can see the big stormy weather there, and this frontal system, actually both of these fronts, are ensuring that the tropical storm goes to Florida. Yeah, we're being protected by these two fronts. I'll show you in a minute. These are the forecast highs for tomorrow, 93. That's because the front comes in after lunchtime. But you can see how all of the North Texas is in the 80s. Not bad at all. Now, let's talk about Helene. Here is Helene. Here are the coordinates. If you happen to have a map with you, it's at 19.9 north and 85.5 west. And of course, now it's up to 60 miles an hour, moving to the west-northwest at 10 miles an hour. So it's kind of wobbling around right about here, and then it's going to move forward. Once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, it is likely to strengthen to a major hurricane. In fact, it could be a 3 on Thursday, and you can see how between Apalachicola all the way down to Tampa, they're looking at hurricane warnings already. This is 48 hours out. So they need to really start moving and go seek higher ground, because it's going to be 110 mile an hour winds, big storm surge, and then of course the 15 inches of rain. So it is a hurricane, and it's going to be then rolling over Tallahassee and then up into Georgia. Even Atlanta is going to get very heavy rain out of this. Other side of the world, this is the Pacific, the west coast of Mexico. Here is John. John was a Category 3 hurricane. You can almost see it. It went inland over Acapulco and then out. Now the storm itself has fallen apart, the winds rather, but there's still a lot of rain. It could regenerate. I mean, it's something we're going to have to watch. So as the front comes through, we see a few little sprinkles over the next 3 or 4 days. But here's the main event. All the big, stormy, heavy hurricane winds and rains will be rolling all the way up. And you can see how even Georgia is going to be getting torrential downpours. So what about us? Well, for tomorrow in Port Lavaca, it's going to be very nice. Looking partly cloudy, 1 or 2 little showers as the front comes through, getting up to about 92. And then in Cuero, 94 with sun and 1 or 2 little garden variety showers. 7-day forecast. Yes, 93, and then dropping down to the 80s for a couple of days. And overnight lows will be very comfortable. They'll be down into the 60s, something we haven't seen in a while. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your phone. And now Max Williams with sports.
Thanks, Mac. Victoria West Volleyball gets a massive win over Gregory Portland at home. That's coming up in sports. Stay with us. Now, Victoria East football are 1-3 under first-year head coach John Ford, and they're hoping to get their first win in district play versus New Braunfels this Friday night. They will have star quarterback Kason Coley playing. He's ready for the big stage.
Compared to last year with coaches and staff and everything, but they did a good job with the transition and stuff, and I think we're on a good pace right now, and we just got to get going. Solid team, but like Coach was saying, they're nothing we haven't seen before yet. We just got to play our game of football and to our best ability and focus every play, and I think we have a chance to come out with a W.
Coley and the Titans are looking to regroup after their loss to Seguin, and they'll battle, again, the Unicorns and New Braunfels, like I mentioned, this Friday night. Now, even though Victoria East is playing in our game of the week, which will be this Friday, we wanted to ask us, the viewers as well, what were some star players or standout players to keep an eye on here in Week 5? And here were the options that I mentioned out. Edna wide receiver Braylon Harris, quarterback for Ganado Bryce Ullman, and then Yoakum wide receiver Xavier Barnett. At 6 o'clock, it was a highly favored for Braylon Harris, and it looks like the same is going to stay here for at 10. Braylon Harris, congrats to you for being, again, people are thinking you're going to have a big performance, so hopefully, again, keep it together and don't let it down there for the Edna Cowboys. Now, football is 3 days away, but there was multiple games in volleyball today here in the Crossroads, and we start with Victoria West playing Corpus team and Gregory Portland at home. West started off strong. They won the first set 25-20. Emily Parker had a great showing for the Warriors, had over double digits in kills and digs, which helped the team win tonight. And the Warriors, they're now 28-4 overall record and 3-0 in district play. They host Terry High School this Friday night at home. Over there for Palacios Sharks, they made their trip out to Hallettsville trying to get their first district win of the season, but the Lady Brahmas had other ideas. They swept the Sharkerettes in 3 sets, and Casey Harper led the way with 14 kills, and Elena Halata was outstanding again, 26 assists in the game, and both Hannah Zachary and Addison Matala had 10 digs as well. And this Friday, Hallettsville hits the road to Columbus, while Palacios will make the trip out to Edna. Over to Calhoun and Cuero. Again, they also played tonight as well. Again, for the Sand Crabs, they won in 5 sets, winning the winner-take-all 5th set 15-9. Neva Rangel and Kendall Gray led the way on the offensive end, having again 20 kills for Rangel and then 11 for Gray. Also, again, Breeley Christensen had a productive night, had 17 assists and 23 digs as well to help the Sand Crabs get the win. And again, also the final score I wanted to mention, the Edna Cowgirls won in 3 sets at home versus Tidehaven. Edna plays again back at home versus Palacios this Friday, while Tidehaven plays home versus Rice Consolidated. Then to end our show, we wanted to check in with the Houston Astros. They played again game 2 here versus the Mariners, and they would get the win tonight, 4-3. And Alex Bregman again hit the solo shot in the first inning, helped the team get started. The Mariners, they would respond back, getting 3 straight RBIs, but at the end of the day, Jason Hayward hit a 2-run shot and would win the game there for the Astros. And the Astros now have won the AL West, and congrats to the Astros for winning that big accomplishment. So Don, how about that for the Astros there, winning the AL West, taking care of business tonight?
8th straight year the Astros are making it to the postseason, 9 of the last 10. Not a bad little stretch.
They get the wins when they absolutely need them.
They sure do.
That's what matters.
They sure do. Max, thank you. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, video shows how firefighters rescued a trapped deer in Oakland. Firefighters came to the aid of an unlikely victim that was caught in a tight space over the weekend in Oakland. Firefighters say a resident reported seeing a deer stuck between a house and a garage while on a walk Saturday morning. The deer was upside down with only about 10 inches of space between the two walls. Fire crews tied a rope around the deer's legs, lifted her up, and turned her to get her upright. The deer was then released back into its habitat.
Oh, good ending there. Well, a diamond necklace worn at 2 British coronations is expected to sell for up to $2.8 million at auction. The 18th century piece, weighing around 300 carats, was likely made before the French Revolution. Marjorie Paget wore it to King George VI's 1937 coronation, and her daughter-in-law to Queen Elizabeth II's in 1953. It's also believed to have stones from the infamous necklace at the heart of a Marie Antoinette scandal. So, I mean, these are some historic diamonds here.
Let them eat cake.
Sotheby's is displaying the necklace publicly for the first time in 50 years before it is auctioned on November 11th.
So when women wear that, do they have to have like armed guards around them? Because it's so expensive and so pricey.
I would think so.
Wow. Wow. Well, the people in Florida are putting up their guard tonight.
Well, they need to get ready. Folks along the panhandle of Florida, what's called the Big Bend, that would be Tallahassee, Apalachicola, Panama City, down to Tampa. They're really under the gun for the arrival of that storm. For us, it's actually very beneficial because we're on the backside of the storm. The frontal system will come through tomorrow about middle of the day. You'll feel that north wind, and by evening it's going to be very comfortable. The weekend is looking spectacular for anything you have planned. It may be about 90, 92, but low humidity makes it very comfortable.
I'm going to keep stepping outside, checking to see if it's come through yet. And be like, is it here? Is it here?
We'll see. Lobster is what's for dinner to celebrate National Lobster Day tomorrow. You could cook up some delicious lobster at home or maybe at your favorite seafood restaurant. The crustaceans live at the bottom of the ocean. Should they avoid a trap that would bring them to your dinner table, some lobsters can live up to 100 years old. Wow. National Lobster Day started in 2014 when Maine Senators Angus King and Susan Collins drafted a joint resolution, and no one crabbed about it. I mean,
It was a brave person that ate the first lobster, you know.
I know. Now I want a lobster boil.
Thanks for joining us. Sunrise tomorrow morning at 5.